Okay. Hopefully this works for us. I don't know. There's so much ceiling from this perspective, but I'm gonna go for it anyways. I don't know how else to set up my camera. So I wanted to talk about this topic for a really long time. It has come up in tarot readings before, but we're gonna channel it today. It's become apparent recently to me through a lot of conversations with people that I love and I care about that we really struggle to speak to ourselves with kindness. Now, I have been someone who, due to probably, traumatic experiences when I was really little, I was bullied and hazed for years. And I was at a time when, your brains are particularly sensitive to external inputs, right? It's still developing when you're in primary school. Now we know, due to neuroplasticity, that you can change your brain at any point in life. There's no cutoff with that, which is exciting news. So don't give up on your brain just yet. But something that I noticed recently was something that I have also struggled with. It's this negative self talk. People don't understand how serious this is, the way that you speak to yourself. When we talk about your thoughts create your reality, your thoughts dictate how you perceive your reality. They dictate how you perceive yourself. They dictate oftentimes your emotional state because your emotions are tied to the thoughts that you think. And I think as deep feelers, oftentimes folks can have a lot of resistance to things like cognitive behavioral therapy, that kind of stuff. I know I did for a long time, and I'm a deep feeler because it felt like working on thoughts and shifting thoughts and mindset was a cop out. That somehow it was avoiding one's emotions, and it's not. It's working with them. It's getting to a place where you're not so dysregulated and overwhelmed by what you feel that you can't address it and work with it and process it and then eventually change it, release it, right? Is what we want to be doing with emotions. There's a cognitive component that is so important. And I'm all about the manifestation stuff, but I've spoken many times about how manifestation has, like, learning about it led me to identity shifting, and identity shifting opened up this portal, this rabbit hole to self development in a way that I've never experienced that type of healing through any other type of therapy or coaching or, you know, as a seeker and a person who cares about self development, try many different modalities. And I personally still work with most of the other modalities too. But the way that we speak to ourselves is more important than we think. If you can imagine having someone following you around at all times, first of all, that would be annoying and a little creepy. But I want you to imagine that person walking behind you, like whether it's really close or really far away, calling at you from across the street or whispering in your ear, it doesn't matter. A person following you around, criticizing you constantly, putting you down, even when you have a positive thought or you start to feel good about yourself, this person sort of sneaks up and cuts you down at the ankles, negating every positive thought that you worked pretty hard to come up with. Even the most confident people in the world, there's a sneaking negative thought that, maybe they have to brush past if they can. But your average everyday person is going to be dealing with a lot of negative self talk, and it can truly feel like someone following you around. And here's the thing, you've got to put it into the mindset or the perspective of, would you speak to someone else like that? It sounds like some of this cliche self-development advice, but as I've said in other videos, and I really want to hit it home, is that the cheesiest, most annoying cliche advice that you've heard a million times, those things matter the most. When I work with people, we talk about the cheesiest advice, the things that are cliche, the things that make my clients roll their eyes, that make me roll my eyes, like the attitude of gratitude, or, speak kindly to yourself and all of that stuff. Where attention goes, energy flows. There's a reason why those things are said so often, but we don't listen because we get caught up in the frequency, as in like how many times you've heard those things. It gets to a point where we don't even consider the meaning of those things. And your thoughts create how you perceive yourself. They create the mindset and the lens, the goggles through which you see the world. And that impacts your emotions. It impacts how you move through the world, your behaviors, your responses, your reactions. And this is what creates your identity. This is what creates your personality. And at a certain point, it really starts to become a habit and to a certain extent solidifies. And we know through neuroscience that that comes from repeating the same thoughts over and over again, makes the connections between the neurons with the little like fingers, their tendrils, little tentacles, bond stronger. And then it takes even more work to change that and use different thoughts more frequently. And then the other connections start to weaken and then fall away. It's like targeting one muscle group, working really hard on it, and then shifting to a different muscle group. It's going to be harder to exercise the new muscle group. But if you ignore the first muscle group, I'm not saying do that, but that would weaken and atrophy at a certain point. I've noticed people in my life speaking to themselves in very unkind ways. And I want to point out that you probably wouldn't speak to other people that way. And if you would, then you've got significant work to do. We walk around the world oftentimes with a very subtle yet abusive voice in our heads telling us that every single thing that we try to do is either going to fail, so why bother beginning, or that we're already doing it wrong, or what's the point in trying? Maybe you have a good day, but because of that negative bias that we have in our brains, and it's because it's a survival mechanism, right? Like your brain would rather misinterpret a shoelace on the floor as a snake and jump away from it and then see that it's a shoelace, because you'd rather be away from the snake just in case. Like that's how your survival brain works. That negative bias, those assumptions, that first negative reaction is carried with us into this modern world, this society that we live in, our contemporary existence. We're still very primal beings. So you have to catch the negative thoughts. The way that I've noticed recently people talking to themselves and about themselves as well, like not just the internal monologue or dialogue, however that works inside your brain, but also how they describe themselves to other people, the self-deprecating humor, the little put downs. You've got to frame it as if someone else was saying those things to you. I did that a while ago, and that's when it started to ease up. I still have those moments, I would say, in the morning, because your cortisol levels, your stress hormone is higher in the morning. I had to come up with the rule of never trust your morning mood, unless you're one of the lucky people that springs out of bed, on the right side of the bed and spring in your step and good morning, starshine, it's time to greet the day. Also, I have no idea where that quote came from. It's from a movie and I can't remember. Most people don't feel that way. It's easier to default to negativity, and there's a reason for that, so don't blame yourself for it. Okay, this is not a blame game, because then also you're reinforcing exactly what I'm talking about. It's normal and it's natural to fall into the negativity and the negative bias. That's what we're designed to do. And at the same time, it causes a tremendous amount of suffering. You would not allow someone to speak to you in that way, and you certainly wouldn't speak that way to somebody else. So here's the thing. We have to take a stand for ourselves, even if you think that you don't love yourself. A lot of people would say that they're working on it. I say that I'm working on it. Now that I do these videos, you're going to be able to point out when I say I'm working on it, because I am. But working on it is an act of self-love. Anytime that you even make the slightest effort to change what you're thinking, even if it doesn't last very long, that is actually a sign that you do love yourself. It might be a little itty bitty part inside of you that you're not well acquainted with. The very fact that you exist right now, you're here and you're watching this video, means that there is some part of you inside that has held on through hell and high water. And at least I think that's how that phrase goes. I can't remember. One of those cliches that I don't remember. But there's a part that is hell-bent on surviving in this really wild world. And I really want to see people being kind to themselves, being compassionate with themselves. It's not a cop-out. Self-compassion is foundational. It is the way that you meet yourself in moments of struggle. Being kind to yourself is essential, and it takes work, but you have to be the one to do it. So here's the other thing I want to touch on. Being mean to yourself serves no one. I repeat, being mean to yourself serves no one. We think sometimes that being mean to ourselves, pushing ourselves down, or pushing away compliments that are genuine and people are truly trying to reflect back to us our greatness or our beauty, our intelligence, whatever, our talent and skill, whatever it may be. Pushing it away isn't being humble. It's not. And being humble isn't as great as we think it is. I do think that we live in a society that does not celebrate celebrating ourselves. Because if we celebrated ourselves and were content with ourselves, we wouldn't buy as much stuff. And there's nothing wrong with stuff. If the stuff makes you happy, if it helps maintain the new identity, the one that you're practicing, it's fine to enjoy certain things, material things. It's not an issue. But buying unnecessary stuff, the things that we think are gonna fix us, or we feel that we need them in order to be acceptable, it's coming from a place of feeling lack and feeling not good enough, and that serves billion-dollar industries, right? So being unkind to yourself serves no one except maybe those folks. It doesn't serve you. It drains you. It drains you of your energy. It prevents you from living up to your potential, which, by the way, is infinite. Yes, it might be hard for someone in their 90s to, join the NFL or become an astronaut. Like, some things are not possible. We have to be realistic in some capacity, but I also don't believe in being completely realistic, because the higher the goals, the more exciting it is when we reach something like that, and then we realize what we have capacity for is far greater than we originally thought. So I want to say nothing is impossible, but we all know that that's not true. But there's a heck of a lot of stuff that is way more possible than you think, and it has to do with how you speak to yourself, how you perceive yourself and your abilities, how you perceive your capacity for learning new things. If you don't know how to do it right now, this is one that I struggle with big time. But you can learn stuff. It just might take a while. You're not instantly getting an A+ in all the new stuff that you're learning. And like, that really grinds my gears, because I was one of those kids that had to have straight A's. And it was exhausting. That has carried with me into my adulthood, and that can be challenging at times. And then it doesn't serve the people around you either. Like, it prevents you from feeling good about yourself. It prevents you from going for the things that you actually want when you are honest with yourself, and stop feeling like you need to be humble, and all the guilt that comes along with actually wanting certain things because we think we're not supposed to want them, or it's not spiritual, or I don't know, it just makes us greedy or whatever. I get it. I've been there. I grapple with it. But then it also doesn't serve the people around you, because at a certain point, the people who love you, who are trying to tell you how much they love you and how amazing you are, will start to feel that you, first of all, don't hear them, but second of all, that you don't respect them. You don't respect their opinion. You don't respect their opinion. You don't respect their input. You don't respect their contribution, it's just like being completely closed. At a certain point, people, they don't give up on you, they don't give up on loving you, but they distance themselves because it can feel extremely frustrating to never be considered, to never be listened to never even have you receive what it is that they say and contemplate it before pushing it away. I call it karate chopping, like the compliments away, like, oh no, 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 like it's not that big a deal, even though you just accomplished something amazing. Or, you know, they compliment you on some clothing and go, oh, I mean, it was on sale. I mean, yay, if you got it on sale, that's awesome. Or you thrifted. I'm like, ooh, I thrifted this thing. Let me tell you about it. That's fine. But, pushing away the compliment. Oh, this old thing, I've had it forever. Yeah, but it looks great on you. So take the compliment. This can be really triggering. We are in a society that is so split in terms of its consciousness, where we get fed the idea that we're supposed to be confident, but the minute you start showing up with confidence, you're supposed to be humble. How dare you? And I'm guilty of judging other people for that too. I'm on the path. I'm doing this journey. I go through my ups and downs, and I'm pretty new to speaking kindly to myself, but this breakthrough has been one of the most profound things I've ever thought about. Even if you don't feel it's important that you speak kindly to yourself, I want you to think about it in terms of respecting the people around you who love you. If you will not accept the possibility that they could be right about you and all the good things that they see in you, those people are going to feel disrespected and not listened to. If you never even stop to consider that maybe you could give them the benefit of the doubt because they're seeing you from a grounded place, from a loving place, and you are seeing yourself from a negative place, from a self defeating place, probably from a low mood. And if you're familiar with something called emotion associated memory, it's like when you feel down in the dumps, it's really hard to remember the good times. And when you're feeling really great, it's harder to remember the bad times. It's emotion associated memories. When you are not feeling good about yourself, that's a time when you're probably speaking without kindness towards yourself. And that is also a time when someone in your life will probably come in and be able to see you from a place of more clarity and want to help you feel better by affirming all of the goodness that they see inside of you. And it is disrespectful, in my opinion, it's probably a controversial opinion, take it or leave it, but it can be a sign of disrespect to completely blow off and disregard what other people see in you because you're not giving them the benefit of the doubt. You're not giving them, it's basically assuming that your friends and your family and the people who are trying to love you, basically implying that they don't know what they're talking about, that everyone in your life that loves you and is trying to pump you up, they're stupid, they're wrong, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, everybody? Really? I would question that. Personally, I had to. I had to. And because I was in a place where I wasn't respecting myself personally, I had to frame it as that. Like, how is this impacting the other people around me? Ultimately, it is about you and your self development, and you have to shift how you speak about yourself to yourself, how you speak about yourself to others. That's on us, and that's our responsibility. And it's literally the ticket to a better life and feeling more joy, just feeling better. And I would assume that you want to feel better. I want to feel better. So catching the thoughts, calling out that bullshit when you're like, okay, little inner critic inside of me that has the megaphone right now screaming into my ear when I'm trying to accomplish something, or I'm trying to do my work, or I'm trying to have fun. Like, it comes in at all times, whenever it wants to. Like, even when you're having fun, even when you're enjoying yourself, even when you're feeling good, sometimes we can have this nagging feeling of, I'm not allowed to feel this good. I'm not supposed to feel this confident. And then you cut yourself down. It's sneaky like that. It's sneaky like that. So if you struggle with this, I invite you to frame it as when you are doing that, when you're speaking to yourself with a lack of kindness, when you're being mean to yourself or putting yourself down, and you're not listening to what other people are saying about you from their point of perspective, which is usually one of more clarity and coming from a place of love, think about how that is making the assumption that the people in your life have no idea what they're talking about and that you don't respect their opinion, and how that might feel to them. Like if you can't turn it around and start doing it for you. This is very similar to, for example, when you have a guest coming, and I'm going to do a video on this. Oh, there's a butterfly outside my window. Oh, it just landed. Hi. It's so pretty. I wonder if it knows how pretty it is. And smart. Hi. It just turned and started looking at me. Oh, that's so sweet. Okay. It's a sign. It just flew away. I think I startled it. It's like when you struggle to clean up your own space for yourself, but when company's coming, you clean up your space. Like this happened to me recently. I'm not that messy, but like everyone has their moments where they're like, I let the dishes pile up, or I always make my bed. That's actually like that's a hard rule for me personally. I always make my bed, always. Even if then later in the day I go and lie down on top of it, I'm like, oh, I need a nap. Oh my gosh, this video is long. Didn't mean for it to be. I was like, I'm gonna film short form for TikTok or Instagram, and like 20 minutes later, 22 minutes later. It's like when we're trying to clean up, like sometimes we just won't do it for ourselves. So, okay, fine. If you're struggling to do it for yourself, do it for somebody else, just for now. The work is for you. We don't want to be doing things in our life only for other people. You've got to do it for yourself. But if you're at the beginning of that journey, you're struggling really hard to feel like you love yourself. Again, if you're here and you're watching this, you do love yourself. You just don't know which part of you that loves yourself, probably. Sorry, I'm making assumptions here, but generally speaking, when I work with people and they're struggling with self-love, it really does boil down to that. They're like, well, okay, I'm here and I'm working on myself and I'm seeking out help. Clearly there's a part that loves, that you love yourself. It's just, where is it? Which part cares to make this happen? If you want to get better, if you want to feel better, if you want to heal things, if you want to do self-development or go to therapy or work with a coach or get your tarot cards read or see an astrologer or whatever it is, if you didn't love yourself, you just wouldn't care. That's something to think about. So it's like when you need to clean up a space. When it's a stranger or someone else coming over, you start to get it together and you do what needs to be done. If you're working on speaking more kindly to yourself, do it for other people for now, if that's what you have to do. Think about whether or not you're pushing away people's opinions of you, helpful, positive, loving opinions of you, compliments, any of that stuff. Is it helpful? Is it kind to them? Is it respectful to them? If you don't value their opinion, at a certain point, people don't give up on you, but they might give up on building you up for a while. They might take a pause, they might take a breather, and then that voice inside of you starts looking for that as confirmation that you're not worthy, or you're not good enough, or you're not worth trying. Do you know what I mean? We start looking for confirmation of why we're a hopeless case. Babe, like at a certain point, you just have to get sick of feeling that way. It serves no one to be unkind to yourself. And then when it comes to you moving forward in your life and feeling better, which I sincerely hope that's what you want to do, that's what I want to do, then it does come down to us and how we speak to ourselves. One of the best practices that I've ever done with this is when the negativity starts to come up and my mind is just racing and I'm just like, there's so much negativity. All my unhelpful beliefs are coming up and I'm starting to be on the edge of the downward spiral. You're like, oh God. Pull out that journal and you can start to write how you feel and allow yourself to fully don't judge yourself for the negativity. It's there, and the more resistance is futile. Start writing it down. And then come back to it with a different colored pen or pencil. And I want you to drop into the identity of someone who loves you. This could be your higher self, your favorite self, your best self, your future self, who obviously loves the crap out of you. We're getting there. And it could also be the voice of a loved one, whether they're still with us or not. Just the compassionate voice inside of you, the one that knows far better than these negative thoughts. And it's going to come in with this other pen, and it's going to write responses, rebuttals. It's going to respond to the negativity with compassion, and it's going to give you proof of why those things are not true or not entirely true. Because you're smart. You can work your way around it and be like, well, but it is true, and here's why. Here's all the evidence. Okay, great, fine, you're right. But also here's all the evidence why not all the time. Why that's not always true. Like you have to start giving whatever whoever the person or the energy, the perspective of that can provide evidence to the contrary, you have to start giving it the benefit of the doubt. You have to recognize when you're spiraling and that's not a time to trust the thoughts that are coming through. This is like what I said earlier. I never trust my morning mood, and it takes however long it takes for me to get on track with my mood, but I just don't trust my morning mood. There's only one way to get out of my bed, so perhaps I'm constantly waking up on the wrong side of the bed. I don't know. The other way is the wall. Unless I'm having an astral projection experience where you can move through walls, which is super trippy. Feel free to ask me about it sometime. Generally speaking, I have to get out on the other side of the bed. And it's just so rare that the first thought I have in my head is, good morning, it's going to be a fabulous day. Like, oftentimes the first thought I have, even as someone who works as a therapist, a coach, is just like, oh God, what do I have to get done today? And I just don't trust it. I just don't trust it. I tell myself, thank you for the input. I appreciate that what this negative part of me is trying to get me to do is roll over and go back to sleep because maybe I need more rest. But there's another part of me that knows that getting my butt out of bed and going and brushing my teeth, splashing some water on my face, having a cup of coffee or tea, those are acts of self-love. I think that we get to a point sometimes where we disregard certain things that seem part of our routine and being like, well, yeah, but I have to brush my teeth in the morning. No, you don't. You don't have to brush your teeth. And you choose to do it because some part of you loves you. You don't have to wash your face. But there's a part of you that loves you, and so you do it. You don't have to. What's another part of somebody's routine? You don't have to eat food if you don't want to. I do recommend that you eat food. You don't have to. These are acts of self-love that we completely dismiss because we've integrated them into our routine and they're not novel. Self-love comes in very, very mundane ways. Ooh, yeah, I can feel that in my chest. Whenever I feel something like really important, it makes me a wee bit emotional, but my emotions, I tend to feel them in my chest. because it feels so important to deliver that message. Again, this was supposed to be, it's almost, we're at 30 minutes right now on the dot. This was supposed to be a short form content. Oh, so funny. It feels really important to relay this message to you, especially if you're someone who struggles with depression. If you have struggled with depression, there have probably been periods in your life where you didn't brush your teeth, or you couldn't get up to eat, or you just didn't have the appetite, or days where you didn't go outside. So maybe this actually hits home for you more than someone who hasn't been in a phase like that. Any day that you choose to, like, basically continue to live life is an act of self-love. There is a part of you inside that loves you fiercely and is, like, refuses to give up, even in the face of an inner critic with a megaphone, which is yelling all the horrible things at you. Now, if you're someone who's never dealt with that and you actually have a pretty positive inner monologue or dialogue, or if you've got, I call it the itty bitty shitty committee. So it's like there's a whole committee inside of me that has many opinions, and this is why we get stuck and have blockages. And we're like, I'm stuck, I can't move or break through. And it's like, yeah, because there's a zillion different characters inside of you that all have different motivations and opinions and things that they're afraid of and things they want to do, and they're all just kind of butting heads and fighting with each other over the microphone or the megaphone or whatever. And we'll talk about that in a different video. But even if you haven't struggled with depression or extreme negativity, no one is immune from negative thoughts and speaking unkindly to yourself. We all waver. We all have those moments. So, yeah, burping a lot. That's always confirmation. If I have an itchy nose, though some people say that when you have an itchy nose, you're channeling. I think it's just cat hair at all times. Plus, I have dingly bits in my face, which tickle sometimes. They look so good. Everyone has the inner critic, and the most self-loving thing that you can do is to finally accept the fact that the way that you're going to feel better is you taking the initiative to speak to yourself with more kindness. But that is up to you. For many years, and I still reach out to my mom sometimes, but I had her, when I was in really low moments, write me letters about, like, what are the good qualities, because I was having emotion associated memory. I couldn't remember what was good about me. I even went through a phase in my late 20s where I was convinced that I was just a bad person. I was a bad person and I didn't deserve anything good in my life, and it was a really tough time, and I don't really know why that happened. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and so I did lean on her, but I never have completely discounted her opinions. I knew that if she wrote that stuff, she was able to see it. She's not going to lie to me. So lean into that if you're struggling with this. And then also recognize that at a certain point, you sitting down, and maybe if you do need to journal out all that negativity, what's 33 on the timer? I love angel numbers. I love the woo. Doing the rebuttal, responding to it, and responding to it from a place of compassion. It's not an argument, it's just a response. I'm like, okay, well, you can believe that negative part of my brain. And then also, if I were going to come at this from a more compassionate mindset, here's what I would say. It's really effective, and it's your responsibility. So no, you don't have to muddle through this all by yourself. I will always encourage people to reach out and ask for help and support, 100%. And at a certain point, I think you will feel motivated to start doing this for yourself, because self-empowerment, man, once you tap into that and you really get the ball rolling, like, there is momentum. There's ups and downs, and we can feel like we're going into negative spirals, but you're never actually going backwards. So if you can imagine a spiral, right? The journey of your life. You may find that you're, like, coming back around to something that feels like, oh my gosh, I've done this before, or I've been in this relationship before. It's just now with a different person with a different face, but it's the same pattern. Great. It's good that you've observed that. Excellent. Good work. And you're not going backwards. It's an illusion because you're in a spiral. So it feels like you're going backwards, but you're up a level. You're coming at it with different information, a different perspective. You're not coming empty-handed. You're bringing all of the knowledge and wisdom that you've gained from previous situations that were similar, and you can apply it, but that's a choice as well. So please speak to yourself with more kindness and compassion. And remember that even when it's incredibly hard, the fact that you still exist and that you're still here is the ultimate act of self love. It's not the big fluffy stuff. It's not, buying yourself the new car, though that's great, go for it. It's not the fabulous trips, though those are great, go for it. It's not about it's not necessarily about that first and foremost. Those are wonderful, icing on the cake, the cherries on top. Who doesn't love? I find it strange when a cake doesn't have at least a little bit of glaze. So like, go for it. It's essential. And the root of it, the most important type of self-love is the fact that you woke up today. You are here. You've still got skin in the game. If you look at life kind of like a video game, and this is not to make light of situations that are going on in the world that are definitely not games and they're not fun. I filmed a video last night that was like 45 minutes long, and it seems that I talk a lot, so it's easy for me to do that. But where I address these like more deeply, those issues of, privilege. So I'll post that at some point, probably on the YouTube. I encourage you to watch it. But if we look at life like a video game, just use it as a thought experiment. If you've played video games, you know that you've only lost the game if your character doesn't exist anymore, right? Even if your health points are low, you don't have any, if it's a first perspective like shooter or like the medieval ones or whatever, you've lost all your weapons, you lost all your health potions, you've lost whatever the heck it is. Even if it feels like you go down a level, like some games are like that. I don't really know how that works. I'm not a gamer, but if you're still in the game, you're technically winning. You're technically winning because you're surrounded by other people, but you're the one playing your game. It is one person, the one person game. You interact with other characters, of course, but they're all playing their own one person game too. And you can collaborate and do, team activities and things like that. Collaborative game, that's awesome. But you are also still playing your own character. So if your character is still functioning within the game, you are technically winning the game. So I want you to think about it like that when you're really struggling. Still in the game, baby. And your only mission in this life beyond that is to love yourself. Because when you love yourself, you have a full cup that is overflowing. We don't pour from an empty cup. We can't. We don't pour from a half-filled cup. Not ideal. We don't even pour from a full cup, ideally. What we want to do is, through our self-love, we are spilling over with the overflow. And by doing that, we are nourishing and helping others, setting an example. I do feel like switching from trying to give and give and give, which slips into compassion fatigue and exhaustion, and switching to focusing on loving yourself fiercely, which can look like setting boundaries and saying no, which at first, if you're like people pleasing has been the thing that you've embodied for the majority of your life because it got you a sense of being helpful and having purpose in this world. It can feel selfish, or it can feel very strange to shift your focus to yourself. And I don't mean don't show up for each other. And sometimes you do have to show up for people when you're feeling a bit drained. The situation demands it. So I'm not saying none of these things are hard and fast rules here. I don't like black and white thinking. It's not helpful. But pouring from a place of overflow because you love yourself and you respect yourself so much that it washes out over to the people around you and it helps make them feel good being in proximity to you. you hype them up, you set an example, like being a role model for what's possible. That is such an empowering thing for yourself and others. And that comes from speaking kindly to yourself. It is really, really foundational stuff. So, this was supposed to be less than 5 minutes, but we're at 40 minutes now. So, I hope this is helpful. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you soon.